If you ever played CSGO or any other competitive game similar to it, maybe Valorant, maybe League of Legends, Overwatch, one thing objectively that everyone has experienced in the start was you noticed that you got killed in game constantly. Your aim was trash, your game sense was trash, your reaction speed was trash, you didn't know how to use the weapons, you didn't know the maps, you couldn't predict any of the players' movements, you were absolutely trash at the game, and you kept getting killed over and over and over again. And what was the one thing that you did, which after a while, maybe a few days, weeks, months, got you to improve at the game to the point where you actually became pretty competent and you could actually kill some players and your rank improved? All you did was just play the game and practice. Play the game over and over and over and over and just practice it again and again and again. Not putting that much calculated like thought, like studying professional players or reading books about strategies on how to get better at CSGO. 99% of you just played the game over and over and over. There were some autistic ass guys who probably learned, like, went and studied players and watched YouTube tutorials and read books on strategy and stuff, but 99% of players who improved at the game just played the game and played it again and again and again. This is the way that you improve at anything in life. If you want to learn more about this, check out the first link in the description. But basically, practice makes perfect, right? That's one of the most famous sayings. And the reason it's one of the most famous ones is because, as simple as it is super powerful. You need to stop overthinking the whole social skills, communication skills area. You need to stop reading so many books about it and watching so many YouTube videos and tutorials and watching pickup coaches go and pick up girls. And you need to just do the uncomfortable thing and just go and speak to people and throw yourself into the action and into the field, because this is the only way that you can truly improve. Because the first thing that improves when you start going and actually taking action, which is something that you cannot improve through videos and books and just sheer information, is your social intelligence. Your social intelligence, you can kind of expect or imagine, is kind of just how many situations you can predict and how calm and natural you can be in any given social situation, whatever happens, right? How kind of relaxed and how good you are at responding at unpredictable social things. Maybe you're speaking to a girl and then like her boyfriend comes and he's being like all whatever, trying to beat your ass. And you kind of de-escalate it, you kind of, get around it, but also you are able to speak to people naturally, you're able to be calm, you're able to think of conversation topics and be funny and be relaxed. This is social intelligence. It's a very important thing, and it's something that you can only build up through going and speaking to more people. Doing this builds relaxation. When you become physically relaxed, you become mentally relaxed, and when you're fully chill and relaxed, that is when you can speak to people the best. That is when you aren't inhibited, you aren't like there thinking what to do with your hands, being super shy and timid and not knowing what to say. You become relaxed, conversation topics flow easily, you're confident when it comes to speaking to girls, speaking to guys, speaking to groups of people, and you can instantly come up with things to say on the spot. This is the reason that you, for example, when you're speaking to your best friend, you can probably speak for hours with no awkward silence, without ever feeling awkward or thinking about what to do with your hands. Because when you speak with him, you have so much experience that you are just relaxed. But when you go out and you speak to strangers or attractive girls, you have such little experience that you become so tense, your social IQ just flies out the window because it's basically non-existent, and that's why your brain blacks out and you don't know what to say and you kind of just sit there awkwardly in awkward silence. You take action, your social IQ increases, you become more relaxed, and what ends up happening is you let the kind of unconscious part of your brain do the talking. Because speaking to people, this is something that you also have to understand, very important thing. It's not something that you can do manually. It's not something that you can just like force your like logistic or it's not something that you can force your conscious part of the brain to just do. When you're speaking to people, you can't just be thinking like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say next. This is the thing that I'm gonna say after this. This is how I'm gonna react to this. When you do that, you're first of all gonna run out of conversation topics very quickly and run into awkward silence. And second of all, the conversation is just gonna be very awkward. You're gonna sound like a robot, and it's not gonna be an enjoyable experience for anyone. Conversation, conversing with people, speaking is something that is done in the unconscious part of your brain. You notice when you're speaking to your best friend, you don't think about what you're gonna say next. You just say it. Words just come out of your mind. Ideas for topics just come naturally. It's because the unconscious part of your mind takes over because of the fact that you're relaxed and you can just speak constantly. But when you're speaking to strangers, because you haven't done it, you don't have that experience, you're all tense, you're trying to make your conscious part of the brain think of topics to talk about, think of words to say specifically, and all that gets you is to either sound like a robot or have a really boring, awkward conversation with a ton of awkward silence and just be perceived as this kind of uncomfortable, awkward, tense guy. One of the things, right? One of the reasons, or one of the biggest things that happens to people as well, which used to happen to me a lot when I was just starting to speak to strangers, was when I would speak to someone, my brain could not think of any words to say. You would put me in a room with a stranger, and my brain would go blank. I couldn't think of a single word to say. And I wondered about why this phenomenon happens. I was able to fix it by literally taking action, by literally just going and speaking to more people. I just memorized like a few words, and then I just went and spoke to a ton of strangers. Literally just started saying like, how's your day going? Hello, hello, how's your day going, to a ton of strangers, until eventually my social IQ kind of picked up. I became more relaxed, and I could, speak a bit better. But up to that point, before I started actually going and throwing myself out into the field, I wondered why my brain would do the thing, why would it kind of lock up and stop working? And I realized that what this phenomena is called is it's called being inhibited, right? It's where you're so worried about saying something wrong or offending someone, right? Your filter for what you're saying is so high, it's so cutthroat, right? That you end up not saying anything at all. Basically, the whole essence of your brain kind of going blacking out and kind of going blank is that you're so afraid of saying something dumb or wrong that your brain just calculates that it's better to just not say anything at all. But ironically, this is the worst case scenario because all it leads to is you being that awkward, weird guy who just kind of sits in the corner of the party and doesn't speak to anyone, doesn't say anything. And when someone does try to say something to you, you awkwardly kind of try to avoid the question and like run away from that interaction because you know that you like when someone speaks to you, you're almost like a zombie. You kind of just stand there like, oh yeah, no, no, I don't go to that school, yeah. What you need to do is lower the filter of the thing which or the things which you say or want to say to other people. The way that you do is by kind of going reverse on another big kind of saying, which is think before you speak, except now you have to speak before you think. Again, this comes down to the way that conversations work. You talk to other people by using the power of your unconscious mind. When you're completely relaxed, your unconscious part of your brain just starts thinking of topics and you have a conversation. When you're doing this, you're not over here thinking about everything you say right before you say it to think if you're going to offend someone. When you're fully relaxed, your unconscious mind already takes care of it. You're feeling that kind of you kind of just through feeling, you feel what you should say and what you shouldn't say without even thinking about it. Again, when you get into that social flow and you're fully relaxed. So what you need to learn to do is to just speak before you think. Because at the start, before you can truly get relaxed, you need to use your conscious part of your mind to get the ball rolling. And the way you should do that is by lowering the filter, learning to be okay with saying something wrong, saying something that's not funny, saying something that's offensive, and just start speaking before you think. The action step for this video for you would be to literally just, again, use your conscious mind to think of a few kind of starting lines to speak to people, right? Because if right now you come into a room with like strangers, your brain goes blank, right? Think of like two openers, two or three openers. One good one is, hello, how is your day going? Something along the lines of that, and then literally just go out into the street or the mall or wherever and just start speaking to strangers, just asking them that very simple question. A very easy place to do this is literally at the shop. You're buying like cigarettes or whatever, and you just ask the person at the counter, just how's your day going? That is like one experience point. You do that 100 times, and you will notice that you become a lot more relaxed. Your social IQ goes up. You become less inhibited. Your brain starts going blank, and you can just speak to people more easily. At that point, you can start learning things from books and videos, taking that information, implementing that, and that implementing it in your conversations when you're speaking to strangers, and that's when your social skills really skyrocket. You can also check out other videos on my channel, which is where you will learn a ton of different information and action steps, which you can also take. But again, the base, the foundation of everything is that you just go and you speak to strangers, and you do it on a daily basis. If you want to learn more about social skills and you want to improve them in the shortest amount of time possible in a very simple and straightforward way, you can check out the first link in the description. That's where you will find my course, which is where I put the best information I have learned in the last 3.5 years that I've been studying the topic of communication skills and social skills and confidence and anything to do social. So you can check that out. And if you found this video helpful, I think you'll find a lot of value in this video right here. Click on the subscribe button and do the work.